Hi, I'm Shamsul Akmar and you're watching In Frame. Our discussion today will be on power sharing in Pakatan Rakyat, specifically on the relationship between PAS and DAP. Mislers have been directed at their cooperation within the Pakatan Rakyat ambit, described as a marriage of convenience between two strange bedfellows. Otherwise, it is perceived as a political expediency paid purely for political gain, but misleading voters as to their ideological polarity. In the studio today, we have two very distinguished political strategies for the two parties. The first is Dr. Dzulkefly Ahmad, MP for Kuala Selangor, as well as PAS Central Working Committee member. The other guest is the MP for PJ Utara, YB Tony Pua, who is also DAP's National Publicity Secretary. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Your party's political ideology are poles apart and are in fact in opposition with each other. How do you reconcile with that and working together in that sense?
I'll start off and begin by emphasizing that within the ambits of democracy and the practice of multi-party system, the practice of coalition bloc, coalition building, coalition politics is nothing strange at all. And given a 60-40 mixed demography of Malaysia, the way to go forward is certainly to understand that it is the demand and to contextualize to the demand of the plural politics. Now, having said that, yes, your introduction, in a way is pejorative and negative towards us. Yes. But let me say this outrightly, that when you place the national interest and the interest of the nation and the Rakyat above self and above partisan interests, then you come to a point where you have really got to contextualize and to meet the demands of the politics of Malaysia. And right now, with the maturing politics of Malaysia, the new politics as we call it, towards a two-party, two-coalition party system, all the more the need for a coalition building, even though we are perhaps diametrically opposed by way of ideological commitments and convictions, but when you place the interest of the nation, you find that you have a lot more common grounds on which you have got to work together and to forge ahead reforms, as for now and in this critical time of the nation.
Tony, DAP is a committed secularist.
That's right.
PAS has started itself as an Islamic party or a theocratic entity. One is opposed to the other. I mean, despite what Dr. Dzulkefly may have said. How do you reconcile with that?
Okay, I think the problem is probably less black and white than what many people put it out to be. A secular state, for example, is not anti-religion. It just says that the rule of law have primacy over everything else. And I think if you look at PAS, if you look at DAP, there's a lot more common ground in between us than what people give us credit for. For example, when we look for justice for a person, when a person is murdered, we want to make sure the murderer is brought to justice. I think that principle applies whether to PAS or to ourselves. And then when we talk about equality, about welfare, we want the poor to be fed. We want the poor to get a good deal from the government. We want education for the poor. I think those are all principles that applies across the board. And we actually realize that when we go into government together, that politics, coalition politics is actually a lot more than just the what you call the ideological differences, so to speak, between the parties.
But the common grounds or common issues are there when you are in the opposition. I mean, of course, even when you're in the there are still common interests, but generally you're attacking. There is a common enemy that you're attacking. But let's say if PAS and DAP, including your partner in keadilan, gets to become or takes over the federal government by the next election, 13th general election, how would each of you pursue what have been part of your struggle in the past, which is still your struggle, despite having contextualized it in the interest of...
I think there's no question that a level of tension will exist. Now, the only key thing then is that are other issues more important, or is dealing with this tension more important? If you look at becoming government, well, we are not federal government yet, but we have become government in Perak. Okay, and I think Perak is the best example of the three parties working together for the benefit of people. When they decide on issues based on issues on welfare, on justice, on equality, and so on. So I think when you base it on that, it became a very successful model, as you can see from some of the election results, where the Chinese were overwhelmingly voting for PAS and vice versa.
But at the same time, if we were to use Perak as an example, it is a case of PAS becoming or taking over the helm by virtue of certain provisions in the state constitution.
Right.
And by virtue of that situation and the fact that PAS is a minority in that partnership, it tends not to pursue what is being pursued by its counterparts in Kelantan.
Right. I think this is where we have come a long way in a short time to understand, the dynamics and the new the new demands of national politics. This is the reason why I keep on stressing on contextualizing. If you look into Perak, you see, we when you build up coalition politics, you have to strike and to iron out and to conquer along certain programs and policy which you together are building it. So DAP, in as much as PAS, will not be able to strictly, forge or advocate ideological programs that are not able to be seen like on the same platform. So on that account, we would be working on the issues of common good governance issue,
okay,
on justice.
Because we need to go for a break. We will take a break and we will be back soon. Stay tuned.